With 1.0 just around the corner, I wanted to collect the creme de la creme of factory saves to showcase Satisfactory in Lumen as inspiration as to what is possible in Satisfactory. Now, we've already seen some incredible ones, but today we're going to be starting off a brand new season of fan factory tours. Now, I had planned to showcase a build that really spent a lot of time showcasing the best of Lumen through signs and lighting, and though this does have that, I thought after seeing this whole 2000 hour build by Faerinne, I thought it best to start here. Now, also, there have been some other incredible builds that I have ready to showcase you, but if you do feel that your builds are up to par, then please make sure to submit your save in our fan factory section of the Discord. I'll put a link to the Discord in the description below. Starting off, Faerinne, and I hope I'm pronouncing their name right given we're going to be saying it a lot in this video, has built an incredible map, both in terms of scale, surpassing the Unreal Object limit, but also in grandeur. From the tallest spire and the rocky waterfalls industrial plant to the Canyon Creek and the Northern Forest outpost. Truth be told, there is a ton to talk about within this save on top of all of that I've just mentioned, and I don't think we've had any save prior to this which has had quite the iconic approach to building like this one. I don't think we've seen anything quite like it. Now, the save itself is a slightly modded playthrough with 2000 hours in it. The mods cover things like elevators and object counters, which you'll no doubt need for a save as big as this, just to keep you on track and make sure that you're not building too big if that's possible. Honestly, I'm not sure where to start with this build. I'm both inspired and terrified at this gargantuan of a project, and I'm sure we won't manage to cover everything with it being so big. But let's start at the hub. Now, the hub is based in the western coastal region of the map, placed on the second tallest tower next to the space elevator. Now, the tower also contains the main storage of this world, hosting every resource known to us, and uses a complex system of sushi belts in order to support the throughput of resources. Now, the overall feel to the inner areas is very utilitarian, and more often than not, I do crave the addition of lighting to really highlight the design elements, because though this is utilitarian in nature, it is also an industrial marvel as to how all of this really does come together. But now that I think of it, on a save that's over 2000 hours, it'll often be the case that older areas of the factory may not have had as much attention to lighting because it wasn't as necessary pre-Lumen in earlier updates. Or perhaps the makers just don't use Lumen all the time like myself, which we're not supposed to really. Regardless, there are some beautifully lit up areas that we will get to later. Faerinne has spoken at lengths on Reddit as to the systems they utilize in this world, pioneering extensive sushi-style manufacturing lines which allow the easy distribution and collection of resources across multiple levels of assemblers and manufacturers, which in turn help to produce 10 nuclear plaster per minute, as well as many other resources, which in total add up to a sink value of over 54 million points per minute. Now, coming away from this build, it's impressive seeing how the selection of build materials are used alongside the production buildables to give this very grand industrial style. Alongside lengths of manifolds, we also have the occasional room that is utterly jaw-dropping, like this hall of manufacturing, and it really does inspire me to build more freely when it comes to my factory. Perhaps I should be using less walls and more verticality, because this really does look incredible seeing all of the moving parts. You'll also find plenty of inspiration for any factory here, whether it's the complete production rooms or overall factory design. I love the sporadic curved factory walls that really complement the jagged angled builds. I also love all of the creative additions and the occasional use of light to really highlight the masterful attention to detail. Now, I would love to spend more time in this area, but unfortunately we have a whole world to cover in this video. Thankfully, this is made easy though, thanks to the extensive train lines featured throughout the lower sections of the build, which work and wind their way up through the nook and crannies of this build. Now, if you do want me to visit any individual sections of this build, do let me know in the comments below and perhaps we'll make that happen. And also make sure to subscribe for more tours like these. I've got some really exciting ones to show you in the future. Now, following the train lines, we have one of three options to take. We can go north across the bridge through the red forest to the aluminium and diluted fuel setup. Alternatively, we can go east alongside the cliffside to the Titan factory, which we'll get to shortly, or we can head along the western coast where we'll find the turbo fuel, rubber and plastic factory, as well as if we head north across the coast, you'll also notice the gorgeous jutting train lines. I love these apex supports, and at night you'll find this all beautifully lit up. Actually, we should probably take some shots of the whole build at night as well before I forget. So we'll just add a few here for you as well to highlight how gorgeous it is. This track leads you all the way through to the Rocky Waterfall factory, which looks like a mining outpost overlooked from above. This factory produces a mix of items from heavy modular frames to plastics, aluminium refinery and heat sinks. Now, looking at the production lines, it's quite eerie being so dark, but the open nature of the architecture above really does lend itself to some really nice natural lighting thanks to lumen and keeping the sections open. Now, one thing that really stands out to me here is the architectural style, and I know we've already mentioned this, but looking over it, there are similarities throughout all of the builds, and as I've mentioned, it does feel very industrial utilitarian. That's probably the best way that I feel I can describe this. But every build, or at least almost every build, seems to feature refineries, manufacturers or assemblers poking out, breaking away from the boxed nature of most of my factories and many others that I've seen. But even with these similarities, the factories also have very different feels to them, and one that feels beautifully balanced within this whole world. Now, at the Rocky Desert Estuary, we do have another facility producing a mix of resources to be sent back to the main facility. Now, I particularly like the integration of the trains within the facility, as well as the glassed caterium and compacted coal facility above, alongside the well-structured mining facility on the cliffside behind. This is something I would love to do in my builds. Making our way now up through the northern forest, we find ourselves at the Great Lake, and this may be one of my favorite spots architecturally speaking. Earlier I mentioned the apex train supports, and similarly here you'll find tilted frames at the front of the builds. Initially I thought this was to give the factory the essence of it collapsing slowly in on itself as the forest grows up around it. But then I noticed that all the factories have the same supports and realized that this was just an artistic choice for the overall architecture of this build. And I'm stunned as to how well this works. There's also another diluted fuel setup next to this, and I really enjoy seeing the blend from framed foundations to beams, something I've not really personally used before, but I may well do now in the future. Now, this area also features a tarantula in the coal lakes, but I really wanted to highlight the attention to detail when it came to the Titan forest. At its heart, wrapped around one of the trees, is a smeltery with 5 arms branching out, smelting aluminium before heading out to the Titan facility. This massive factory sprawl produces all sorts, from batteries and radio control units to nuclear fuel rods that run the 11 nuclear plants here, as well as the 50 others located above the waterfalls in the western coast, connected by a network of drones. Honestly, I could speak at length on this build, covering the train networks and the truck highways, the individual factories littered around the world connected by drones, and the marvel of this design. It is a truly stunning build with carefully crafted elements. Now, I love the Titan facility's design, not just its productive capability, but also the fun moments Faerinne's taken to craft a breathing boundary with molten metal flowing through the build, and its various outbuildings, and the nuclear facility that it's also designed on top of, well, the nuclear facility. There are so many elements that I can take inspiration from in my future 1.0 build from this, even if I do find it daunting working on a project like this because it's impossible to see where it all started. Regardless, it's been an absolute pleasure to check this save out, and if you are as awestruck as me, do show Faerinne by clicking the thumbs up on this video, and if you'd like to see more elements of this world in depth, then do let me know in the comments below, and do make sure to subscribe for more. And if you are interested in submitting your save, do make sure to go over to my Discord and then check out the Fan Factory application page where you can submit that. But guys, I will post the link to Faerinne's Reddit page in the description below so you can check them out, and all thanks do go to them for giving me the opportunity to check this save out. But anyway guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Soloxclipse patron, Firefless, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben and Star, and our Blood Moon of the day, which today is the Saltron Husky. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.